Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Software engineer admits he was wrong about his 2025 XRP price prediction. He says, "I am not a fortune teller." Okay guys, let's get into it. Okay, so you guys might be thinking I'm here to kick this guy's back in and kick him while he's down, but that's really not the case here. I'm actually here to give this guy props, to be completely honest with you, but also to give you guys just a bit of a cautionary tale on this. So who's the person in question here? It's Vincent Van Code. So there's been a few things I've been covering of this guy lately, and yeah, he got this wrong. He made a prediction and he got this wrong. The reason why I'm saying that I'm here to actually give him praise is because I respect people who can just admit when they're wrong, right? That's the thing for me about, when you're an influencer or, any kind of profession, whatever, just as a person, if you can admit when you're wrong, there's nothing more you can ask of that, right? If you say something and, you get it wrong and you just acknowledge that, I just think that's a good trait in a person because, this is why sometimes when I have debates with people on my channel, it gets so difficult because what happens is when I have the debate and then I show them that they're wrong and they can't argue back, rather than continuing the debate, they can see that they're wrong and they've got no kind of retort. So then they just start trying to affect my channel. They just take it very bitterly and then start trying to affect me in other ways, which to me is, is petty, right? But this is just what you have to deal with. But anyway, for me, I just respect honesty and I just respect people who can own up to their mistakes. Okay, so what was his prediction and stuff? Let's get into that then. So Vincent Van Code, a widely followed software engineer in the XRP community, has openly acknowledged his failed year-end XRP price outlook. In a tweet, he said he expected XRP's price to be higher by now than its current level. Notably, the software engineer previously predicted a $30 to $50 price range for XRP. Meanwhile, the coin is still trading below $2 today. Quote, "I thought XRP would be much higher by now," unquote. Van Code explained that the Ripple and XRP ledger roadmap was meant to begin earlier, but legal delays, including the appeal process and late ruling, pushed the timeline back. Okay, so the one thing that I do want to say in that regard, I've covered Zach Rector also talking about the legal ruling affecting XRP. Personally, I'm not really buying that on my own behalf. Personally, I'm really not, because at the end of the day, the ruling, even if we go by, this whole appeal, the current status of XRP was already done anyway. XRP was deemed not a security. So the ruling that was in place was fine and everybody was happy with that. So yes, okay, there was an appeal going forward, but this wasn't really, that big of a deal, right? It wasn't really, this was so that Ripple could get better terms for themselves. Yes, for XRP, of course, so they could, do business easier in America. But, they'd already got the status of XRP not being deemed a security. So the big win, the main win was really already there in that regard. So I don't really think the appeal really made that much of a difference. And in all fairness, that ended around August. So it's not the whole year was done at that point. It's not like it happened in October or something like that. So there was still time for things to happen. So that's the only thing that I will give just a little bit of pushback on. But look, this is the thing. I will say this. If you'd have asked me personally, and this is why I don't do price predictions, and that's the cautionary tale I want to get into in a second. If you'd have asked me, just generally speaking, where we'd be right now in terms of the market as a whole, because again, I don't put this on just XRP, I thought we would have had our bull run and everything would have been done by now. That's what I would have thought. Now, when I do my content, I don't say that because I don't know, right? And this is why I'm glad I'm the kind of content creator that I am, because I don't try and give you guys any kind of false hope or anything that I can't really be sure of. I can tell you my opinion and say, hey, going by previous bull runs, this is what we would expect to happen. But I'm never giving you guys any kind of empty promises, nothing that I can't really say with any kind of confidence that I can't guarantee. And so this is where my thing comes in regards to people making predictions, because I think that's where really the cautionary tale is. So I'm going to just bring up a few names here who also did price predictions. But again, this isn't to This isn't to like put anyone down, but I just want to show you the kind of things that we see, not just within XRP community, like this is just within crypto as a whole. So back in July, Van Code predicted that XRP could eventually reach $30 to $50, and that's obviously going to be by the end of 2025. He shared the estimate after repeated community requests. So fair enough. Like it even sounds like he was kind of being pressured to give a prediction here. So once again, this is where like, you know, people are asking for things that, look, this is just people's perspective. This is what you've got to understand. Like all they can do is give you their opinion, you know? And he did stress that it was personal conviction rather than hype. So once again, I respect that. He's not trying to make out like this is a guarantee. He's just telling you what he thinks. While not set to a specific timeline for the price target, he viewed it as a future possibility. Okay, that's a bit weird because just he said that he got it wrong. So I'm assuming at some point he must have said 2025 because he's accepting that you got the timeline wrong. So maybe that was like at the beginning and then later on he put a date on it. Meanwhile, other XRP community figures such as Dustin Layton boldly asserted that the price would be at least $50 by the end of this year. This outlook required a 25x increase and a $3 trillion valuation. Influencer Alex Cobb also projected a $22 price by December 2025. Now, reflecting on these expectations, Van Code admitted that the prediction had failed. At the time of his $50 outlook, XRP was trading above $2. Today it stands at around $1.83. So this is the thing, right? And this is what I mean when I say about this in terms of predictions. This is why I'm saying in terms of the cautionary tale, because like, you know, even with this, it's saying here that people were pressuring him to give a price prediction. And this is why I do get it on my channel from time to time. People say like, so what do you think XRP is going to get to or whatever? My answer is always the same. I don't know where it's going to get to. And the truth is nobody knows. Like nobody can tell you where it's going to get to. So you can ask these influencers, content creators, you know, whatever. You can ask them what you think and they can give you their opinion. But you've got to understand it's just an opinion. Like that's just their personal perspective. For me personally, and again, this isn't just XRP specific. You can get people in, you know, the Bitcoin community, Ethereum community, giving these kinds of price predictions of where they think their crypto is going to go to by whenever date. You do get it. I think it's a lot more prevalent in the XRP community just because you've got this whole speculation and conspiracy theories about the banks all going to use it and stuff like that. But it is in all the communities as well. The thing is that like, I think personally, like giving like numbers and dates, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I think that's something that we should move away from personally, because I just don't think it's good to kind of put those kinds of expectations for people to potentially like buy into. Now, it is a bit of a tricky one because you have got people who are, for example, chart analysts, right? And for me personally, I do give chart analysts a little bit more credibility because at least they're using a skill set to determine what their price is going to be. Like when you've got like content creators and stuff like that, you know, they are just kind of going by, oh yeah, like we're in a bull run, so it's going to get to this price. It's like, yeah, but what are you basing that on? You know, like saying that XRP is going to be like $50 by the end of this year at the minimum. It's like, what's making you come to that calculation though? Like, what's made you say that? Now, again, if like it's chart analysis, I can at least say, okay, you know, maybe you're looking at Fibonacci levels and all this stuff, the extensions and, you know, macro waves and all that stuff. Like I'm not a chart analyst myself, so I can't give the full breakdown of it, but maybe you're reading into things and looking at charts that's giving you that kind of price level. Now, that doesn't guarantee it's going to be right either. So, you know, you have got to also take that in. Like, for example, there's two very big chart analysts I follow and they have different opinions. One person says, we're in a bear market. This is pretty much it. We've got to wait for things to get over this and get back moving again. And we've got another analyst who's saying, no, we're still in a bull run. Like this is just a bit of a consolidation. And then eventually we're going to move back on up and everything's going to be great again. So, you know, that's two different perspectives. So this is where, you know, like we have to just see how things pan out. But even chart analysts can have differences of opinions. So this is why I say, like, I don't know where it's going to go. But this is why, for me, I'm very careful about what I say to you guys. But I will give these guys a bit of grace in regards to this, just in the sense of not exactly the price predictions, because for me, who knows where the price predictions was going to be, but just in the sense of who could have seen what was coming with, like, you know, Donald Trump playing around with the tariffs and stuff like that? And as I've said before, the whole liquidation event in October, as far as I can see, that was a manipulated event. That was market makers and Trump playing around with the market. So, you know, like, who can anticipate those things? And if we are playing in a market which is manipulated, then how are we going to get a bull run in those kind of conditions if things are looking good? And then because market makers are worried, they're going to lose a lot of money due to leverage. And, you know, Trump wants to maybe make a bit of money on the insider trading side of things. So he's doing stuff to spook the market and then rally it back up again. You can't battle with those things, right? Like, how do you maneuver in that kind of stuff? So, you know, I still look at it as that whole thing, what happened on October, that could have been the thing that really just messed up the market anyway. Like, was that something that was going to happen no matter what? We just needed something to be the catalyst for it to go ahead. Like, it could have been any other news event that would have dropped the price. I don't know, right? I don't know. Or is it a thing where that whole manipulation event just wiped out all the momentum? And that's why we've been struggling ever since, because so many people got liquidated that all that money that was in is now gone. Do you see what I mean? So it's hard to say, but for me, when I'm mentioning these guys and their predictions, as I say, like, I've got no issue with people, you know, making a price prediction if they make it clear that it is just a prediction and it's completely speculation. To me, I've got no issue with that, because at the end of the day, you're entitled to do that if that's what you know, personally feel and that's what you want to do. My thing is, some people are doing this again to get the engagement, right? If you're turning around saying, yeah, it's going to be this price by this date, and keep pushing it, you're getting all the engagement out of that. People are going to love it because it sounds great, you know, $50 XRP by December, whatever. And then when it comes to the date, some people will just act like it never happened. They might delete their posts or their tweets on X. They'll just move the goalposts. Like, you know, like, I'll be honest with you, I do feel like the whole talk about the legal thing, I feel like that's an excuse, in my opinion. I really don't buy that personally. I really don't. So I just think that there are times where there are some people who they're doing this because they just want to keep getting engagement. And what they'll do is they'll just move to the next day. So again, push the goalposts. Oh, you know, there was a delay in this, there was that. And don't get me wrong, in terms of the October 10th, I'll accept that 100%, because that to me was a manipulated event. There's enough evidence for me to see that. But in terms of the lawsuit, I'm just not having that. And, you know, like, all that'll happen is a new price prediction will come for a new date, right? So they'll be like, oh, okay, well, by July 2026, yeah, everything will be back on track again. And this is what it is. It's just rinse and repeat. So it really does come down to what people's intentions are. And sometimes it's not always clear. But this is why I just say, for you guys, like, for me, I'm not here to listen to people saying price predictions. Like, I'll listen to chart analysts because, again, they've got a skill set in how they, you know, read the market, so I can at least give them a bit more credibility. But even with that, I understand that there are analysts who I follow, big analysts, who've been wrong. So I still understand that this is still their interpretation of reading the chart. It could be right, it could be wrong. So I never take one set guidance as gospel. I'll listen to multiple to get an idea. And then I accept that it's my decision as to what I believe. Like, I'm not going to take it as financial advice. That's just them sharing their opinion. And I think that's what you guys need to do as well. Like, just be careful. Don't think, you know, you see these influencers saying it's going to get to this price by this date. Like, don't just, like, take that as fact. Like, you know, just think about, okay, this is their opinion. First and foremost, see if they've got anything as to what they're basing it on. And not just giving you, like, you know, all the hype type of stuff, you know, the hype kind of reasons, but just see if it does make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then yeah, like, maybe you need to question if you really need to be taking that in. But I just take all this stuff with a pinch of salt. For me, I just listen to people's perspectives, and then I just make my own decision as to what I believe. I never take one person's opinion as gospel and think that's what it is, that's where it is. I just take in a lot of different people's perspective and information, and then I make my own conclusion as to what I think is going to happen. And that's why with me, you know, I don't kind of come in here saying, hey, you know, this is why this day everything's going to be going again. I might tell you what some analysts are saying, and then I'll just give you my opinion as to whether I buy it or not, whether I think it's plausible. But I'm never going to say to you guys, like, by this date XRP is going to be this price, because I have no idea. You know what I mean? And nobody else does either. So I'm just honest about it and just saying straight up, look, we're all just giving our opinions and perspectives. Who knows who's right, who knows who's wrong. But the one thing I do have conviction in is that I do believe with XRP, at some point it's going to make me a lot more money. Like, I do believe that. I do believe that conviction of saying I do think it'll be a way more valuable than what it currently is. But I couldn't give you a date for that, and I couldn't tell you by how much. I just believe it will go higher up in value because I believe it's a good crypto asset. So I believe it's going to service people and help companies and institutions and governments. So I believe it'll get more value over time. That I'm confident of, and I can say that, but I can't give you any specifics. So yeah, thought I'd just share this again, not to kick in Vincent van Code or any of the other guys who make predictions. Fair enough. Like, again, I will say this market has been very weird. If there's one thing I've learned from this bull run to the last bull run, you know, like it's definitely a thing where you don't want to just go by the assumption of 4-year cycle, Bitcoin rallies, then the rest of the altcoins just follow. Like it's been very up and down this cycle. So like, you know, you've got to be prepared for things. I mean, as long as we get the end outcome, which is alt season, and that, then yes, we've still ultimately had the same thing happen, but time frame wise and stuff like that, it's been very different. So yeah, we'll see how things go, but I just thought I'd share this. And as I say, just props to Vincent van Code for owning it. Like, he got it wrong, he's accepting that, he's acknowledging it. So, you know, I can't ask any more than that. So that's something I do respect. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell. Take care.